Sean.
Marco.
We are here to deliver a message from the RSA Conference team.
It's an important message from our friends. RSA Conference 2025, just around the corner, where insights drive action, solutions emerge, and community connections spark innovation. You'll be there. I'll be there. We invite everybody else to be there April 28th through May 1st. You can secure your spot at rsaconference.com/ITSPMAG25. That's ITSPMAG25. See you all there.
I'll be there. See you there.
Marco.
You're not going to say vroom vroom. Come on. Come on. It's chats
woof,
on the road.
Woof, woof. Vroom, vroom.
Well, we'll get in. We'll probably go
vroom,
into
vrooming?
that.
I don't know if I'm going to vroom. Are we going to vroom, vroom together? People are going, what the heck is a vroom, vroom now?
I think we'll go back to the origin, which is instead of flying, we will drive to RSA
drive
Conference.
Up would be nice. I'll be on the west. We can drive up for sure.
I'm looking forward to that. So this is
this
number one.
This makes it real. This makes, at least from my perspective, RSA Conference real. We start our chats on the road. I'm thrilled that Steve Wilson is actually kicking it off with us. We usually do the kickoff with the organizers. We're still working out that session, but Steve, it's fantastic to have you on, my friend.
Great. Thanks for having me, guys. Looking forward to the session.
It's good to see you again. You've been on the show before. It's great to have you back. And as I noted before we started recording, congrats on getting a speaking spot. No small feat, and the topic is pretty cool too. So no question why you got in there.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, so it's gonna be fun. So good week at RSA Conference. Everybody listening and watching, as you know, if you follow us at all, we do the Chats on the Road series where we get to talk to speakers and keynotes and panelists and other folks bringing the cool stuff to the event, and we kind of explore what's going on there. And this Chats on the Road is where we do that with Steve for his session. Steve, you've been on the show before, but for folks who have not met you, maybe a few words about who you are, what you're up to, and then we'll get into the session.
Yeah, I think I'll probably be wearing 3 different hats during the session that all kind of inform what we're going to talk about. So as I say it, my day job is I am the Chief Product Officer at Exabeam, which is a leader in AI-driven cybersecurity. So, we're a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for SIEM. So we do SIEM. The company basically invented the idea of using machine learning to do user and entity behavior analytics. And, during my time here, we've added generative AI and co-pilots and now working on agents, and that's tons of fun. But then all my hobbies seem to also involve AI and cybersecurity in some fashion. So about 18 months ago, I started a group at OWASP, which is, I think, how I got introduced to you originally, Sean, was
that's true.
We built the OWASP Top 10 for large language models, and that document got really, really popular. And as a result, O'Reilly reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to write a book about that, which that came out a few months ago. I think I was also on your podcast for that one.
You were?
But, kind of all of that learning about what's going on in AI and what's going on in cybersecurity, that's kind of the underpinnings of the talk this year.
Yeah, and I find the title very, very intriguing. I think, again, it did capture the attention for sure. It's like the machine are learning, are we? Which is a big question when it comes to the way we use it. It almost makes me think about technology in general, right? We use technology, we don't really know how it works. And eventually, I don't know, technology becomes something that is, I don't know, magic, right? As Clark used to say, if we don't understand it, it's probably magic.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things about this space is there's always new technology. There's always some new hot startup that's out hyping what they're doing. Once in a while, you get one of these super cycles where it's not one startup hyping a new thing. It's like everybody hyping something at the same time. And, at one point it was the internet, and then it was mobile, and then it was cloud. Maybe it was cloud before mobile, but, there's only a few of those waves, and now it's AI. And people in cybersecurity in particular, I'd say have a good intuitive understanding of why they want AI, but they probably don't have a deep background in it, and they're struggling to figure out a strategy. What are the bad guys doing? What are the successful good guys doing? How should I be thinking about this? How should I approach it? It's a big challenge.
And it's interesting. I was trying to find the bookmark now, but just before we got on, I saw something scroll through my feed on LinkedIn. A fellow AI AppSec security person, deeply involved in helping people write secure code and AI stuff. And evidently there's a study on this very point. Are we using AI less to fill our brain and become smarter, but are we relying less on our brain because we're using technology to accomplish different things? I'm gonna have to dig that up and actually read it now, but it showed a picture of a brain where we think the brain is expanding and looks healthy, and then the other side it looks weak and is diminishing to nothing. And then the machines, of course, we're feeding them to become smarter. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting dilemma for sure.
Well, let's apply that to cybersecurity and the core of your talk.
Yeah.
Of course, our goal here is to bring people to the event, so don't say too much. Just do a good tease.
Yeah. Look, I think the AI and cybersecurity have this interesting relationship. I think there are two industries that have successfully deployed AI in difference making product, profit making ways. And one of them is, for better for worse, social media. We all know that's basically the first collision that the human race had with artificial intelligence was Facebook. And we can debate about how good or bad that's been for us. Same thing. What's it filling your brain with? But it's there, and people are making billions of dollars with it. Cybersecurity, on the other hand, really, for the past 10 years, people have understood that machine learning and baselining and understanding normal and not normal is the only way to get through these billions of rows of log files and other things that we're collecting up every day. And so that's been real. But now there's this super cycle that's been happening the last 2 years, and now it's back to confusion. Is it real? Is it not? Everybody sees headlines about the bad guys using this stuff. Oh, there's deep fakes, and there's AI driven exploit generations, and how much do I need to worry about that? And what of these technologies should I be looking at? And that's a lot of the big questions people are asking. And at the session, we'll try to go through some case studies and give some best practices.
And so in the same spirit of becoming smarter, and perhaps we're not here as an employee, we're not necessarily being paid to become smarter. We're being paid to have better outcomes with the tools and brain that we have. And I think there's an opportunity for AI and automation to help us think more clearly, have better information to think more clearly and take better action. And one of the points we wanted to talk about was getting visibility. So I think there's so much more data, access to that data, analysis of that data. We have the tools now to absorb more and see more and perhaps be told more about what's happening, so that we can then use that to be smarter in how we take certain actions, better protections, better response, whatever it may be. So what are your thoughts on visibility and how that plays a role in what we're doing here?
So visibility is such an important word in this area. And it is, there's a whole section about this in the talk. But first thing is, visibility doesn't just mean I can see it. It's I can see it and I can understand it so I can act on it. Because it's one thing to say I captured all the data and it generated an alert somewhere. does that mean you saw it, or did it only get seen when somebody sees it, understands it, and can act on that? And I think it's really the latter. And so we have to differentiate those two. And it's one of the reasons that we have this dramatic overconfidence in our defenders' capabilities. And I'll share some data that we got out of a study we did with IDC, where we went out and interviewed over 1,000 CISOs or senior security executives. And what we saw is, when we asked them to rate their own capabilities, it was really high. As a defender, I think we're doing a great job. But then you ask them like really hard questions, like how much of your network do you think you can see? Like the number is way lower. And it's like, how do you have super high confidence in your ability to defend when you have this massive visibility gap? And so I think getting these things into numbers, getting people where they're able to act on them. And let's face it, the job of a CISO is really hard, and you're drowning under real problems coming from the outside, right? You're getting attacked 1,000 times a day. And then you're getting attacked by security vendors who are trying to prove their value by generating more alerts and sending them to you. And if you're getting thousands of alerts from your AppSec tool that are telling you about 10,000 CVEs, I saw statistics, CVEs are up 40% year over year. If they're growing at 40% compounded yearly, we'll have more CVEs in a year than we have humans on the planet soon. So how do you deal with that, and how do you separate the wheat from the chaff, the noise from the signal?
When you were explaining the idea of so small that the amount that we know, that we see, I'm thinking about the space. We have the telescope out there, and we're really looking at the grain of sand, and we think is the whole universe. So maybe cybersecurity is not that massive, but the fact that you can say confidently, yeah, I got this. And then you're like, yeah, well, you got so little. I mean, what you're doing it good, but what you're not doing. So is that a real problem? Like, or is that maybe a part of a space or a part of the environment that maybe it's very far away from the attacker as well?
So I guess here's the good news, bad news. The good news is your cybersecurity attack surface is not as big as the entire visible universe. And,
yes.
It always is interesting, right? You go and you look at like the SETI program, and people are always asking, why haven't we found the aliens yet? And then you get down to the hard numbers, and they'll tell you, well, because we only looked at 2% of the sky, and the frequency bands that we're looking in are really small. And it's like, okay, we didn't have a lot of shot at finding anything yet. Right. So go keep looking. On the other hand, what we see is, measured in IT terms, a large enterprise is generating a lot of data from their cybersecurity tools. You are generating, terabytes up into petabytes. And, a little trivia fact about exabeam. Exabeam is derived from the term exabyte, which is what comes after petabyte. And it was always the intent that at some point we're going to be looking at exabytes of data rather than petabytes. So this is growing exponentially. But one of the things we found as a strategy is you're going to need more than one kind of tool to sift through this data. And the first generation of this tool was these high-speed machine learning algorithms that give you things like user and entity behavior analytics, and that can, cut down 90% or more of the noise that you're seeing. But with the amount of attacks and noise and things growing at a rate so fast, even when you're paring that down, your human analysts can't keep up. And that's what we see from every CISO I talk to is they're like, I can't hire enough analysts to keep up with everything I'm doing. There aren't enough of them, or they're too expensive. Those are related, right? Supply and demand. Or there just aren't enough with enough experience to go around. And so one of the things that we've found is people want to see generative AI and large language models as the new solution to every problem. And, it's not just cybersecurity, it's every industry. Everybody's got a new Gen AI answer to your problem. But, between my work at Exabeam and OWASP and O'Reilly, I spend a lot of time with large language models, and I've built up an intuition around things that they're good at and things that they're bad at. And one of the things that they're worst at is dealing with really large data sets. So the idea that an LLM will help you comb through a petabyte of data is just wrong. It's not going to help. It's going to make it worse because it's going to overload. It's going to make you bankrupt, and it's going to hallucinate. On the other hand,
I've seen it all. Thankfully, not the bankruptcy part.
yeah, well, on the other hand, though, if you layer it on top of some of these other things that we've built, like user behavior analytics and things where we can pare down that petabytes of signal to kilobytes of insight, now I have something that I can take to a large language model. And what the large language model can do there, first set of goals was like, hey, can I turn a tier 1 analyst into a tier 2 analyst? Can I bolster their skills by taking the data that they're looking at and explain it to them like a more experienced analyst would? And we've gotten like really good signals so far that that's possible. The place where we're going to is I think we can have agents that will do the first level investigation on a security incident before the human opens it up. You're still going to need a human in the loop before you turn off the CEO's laptop because you got a suspected signal that something might be funky. But boy, could you accelerate that. And so can you take the less experienced person, make them seem more experienced? Can you take the experienced person, leverage them so they can do 10 times as much so that they can help the organization? I think we can do both of those.
So let's go on the human learning part, because this is what I'm thinking. It's not a quantity, at least that's what I'm grasping from what you said. It's not a quantity issue, which is, okay, seems like it's great, but it's the quality. So can we filter all of this? Can it be the first line, second line, third line, then you get to the human? But also, again, I go back to, are we learning something from learning about machine learning and AI?
Yeah.
Like, are we adopting the business, the strategy, the SOC, or are we just saying, nope, that's going to stay the same. I'm just going to get more powerful stuff. And maybe the problem is to change something at the basic level.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm asking you. I don't know. I don't know the answer.
I think the way I think about this goes back to those technology waves that we've seen. And this AI one, we have to wait a few years to see how big and how disruptive this is going to be. You get the extremist that says this will be the last invention that humans will ever make.
Sure.
And then
they always say
the
that.
other people who think, maybe it's not that overblown, but it's clearly the biggest thing since the invention of the World Wide Web. And we all lived through that. But you can think back and you're like, wow, there was a day where I had never been on the web. And then it was like a year or two later that I couldn't imagine life without it. And then it was a few years after that you understood the difference between Amazon and Blockbuster, or Netflix and Blockbuster, or Amazon and Sears, right? And you're like, I think on this cybersecurity front, everybody's like, okay, this is a big deal. I can turn on CNBC. All they talk about is AI instead of stocks, and I should probably figure it out. But there are still people who are saying, they're taking this stance. It's overblown. I don't need to worry about this. I'm just going to stick to my knitting, and I'm going to do a good job at the job that I'm doing today. And then there's, the people who are really leaning into it, and they're saying, how do I learn about this? How do I learn the difference between a great demo that a vendor whipped up in the back room and a set of tools that are really going to impact my ability to defend myself? And that's really where we get to the human learning stuff, is the smart people taking advantage of this. Not only are they making themselves more effective, they're actually able to more quickly come up a learning curve. If you're a beginner at this and you have an AI over your shoulder that you can ask questions, you'll learn things. When we added the ability in Exabeam to search the sim in English rather than query language, the basic guys started with that, but they can actually see the complex query that gets generated from the English, and they wind up in no time. They wind up being able to speak the native language if they want to switch down and drop down into that mode. And so, I think that if you do this right, you can learn from using the AIs. You can even learn from the AIs, and the AIs will learn more from us, and we'll see them continue to get smarter for the next few years for sure.
So the one thing I've been hearing recently, even as recent as today, is that executives and their leadership team and their practitioners are finding that the uniqueness of their environments, the uniqueness of their business, the uniqueness of their systems and data sets are pushing them to build bespoke systems for a lot of things, including cybersecurity. Mm-hmm. Because the generally built solutions on market can't as easily be fine-tuned to meet the business requirements and operational requirements versus them building it using systems in-house. And because it's easy to write no-code, low-code with LLMs and access to their data sets, which would be a pain to connect third-party systems to as well. I guess my point is, I think we will learn how to adapt technology for ourselves within our businesses far better than a lot of commercial stuff we'll be able to. Now, I think we're going to need components within there, sensors, maybe some agents in there, and some shims and platforms to kind of help orchestrate all this stuff, perhaps. But I think the businesses are learning that they need to connect the technology directly to their business and not just shoehorn in stuff that they've been told they need for their business.
Yeah, I see a couple different layers of this, and one of them is you have some really big companies out there selling cybersecurity stuff, whether it's the pure play big public cybersecurity vendors or the hyperscaler cloud providers that are now trying to sell security stuff too. And they will just show up and they go, I've got it all worked out. I've got it all prepackaged. Just buy all this stuff from me and you got everything you need. And that's where I see a lot of people in the industry pushing back on. I don't believe that. And they've all learned hard lessons about monocultures in cybersecurity anyway. That's, you get totally dependent on one thing. You're gonna get bit by it. But I do think there's definitely the trend that you say, which is the ability for individuals to develop things that they couldn't develop. We've had low code tools of some sort forever, going back to Visual Basic and things like that. But it's a dramatic increase now in the ability to build real stuff now that we have more of these AI driven tools. But I think in some ways, going back to one of these previous waves, when you go through cloud computing, there was a point at which a lot of these larger companies said, yeah, I kind of see the advantage of the cloud thing, but I'm going to do it myself. And we went through a generation of years of people overspending on OpenStack and, racks of Dell servers and things, building their own clouds. And at the end of the day, basically nobody, that didn't wind up being a good idea for anybody.
And we argued over on-premise or on-premises.
Yeah. Look, people still have some things on-prem, but they don't talk about it like they're going to run their own computing utility. They have some stuff on-prem because they need some stuff on-prem. Need a compute utility, go to somebody who's professional at building it. I think it's going to be the same with cybersecurity tools. We're not going to move into a cottage industry of people crafting their own. But what they will do is tailor them to their environments much more effectively with the new tools that are available to them.
Well, lots and lots to talk about. That's why we go to conferences and talk to our peers and network and listen to great presentation like I'm sure yours is going to be. So I want to invite everybody. Now, I am not sure we even have a date and a time and a room for this. Do we, Steve?
Oh, it's on Monday. Hold on. Let me go.
All right, because maybe you know something we didn't know from the website, because we're way early and that's what we like to do anyway. But while you look, I'm going to make the call. Moscone Center, of course, you know that if you've been at RSA Conference before. I think Sean and I have been there a few times already.
I think so.
Great place, great conference center. And this time is April 28th to May 1st, so a little bit earlier than last year. And we're going to gather there to unite, innovate, and shine with the RSA Conference community. And as we do that, let's see if with Steve, we know when his session is going to be. And if not, we'll add it
here, but we'll find it.
We'll find it. Okay.
Yeah, we'll certainly
definitely on Monday afternoon, though, first day.
All right. See, we're way early ahead of the game, as we like to be. So everybody, just stay tuned. And we do have a page where you can actually check all our coverage, and we keep it updated with all the agenda and the speakers, keynotes, and all of that.
Yeah.
Sean,
Steve has a profile. I'm sorry, what's that?
What's that page? How did you
call it? For RSA, well, it's a huge, long URL, of course, but you can always go to itspmagazine.com/RSAC.
There you
go. You'll always get the latest RSA conference coverage from us there.
See,
Steve has a profile on the RSAconference.com site, which we'll include, which once his session is live will be available there. So you can always check and find it out there. So Marco, I'm excited for this year's event. We have a lot planned. We have some good space reserved for a lot of briefings and brand stories, and of course we do a ton of stuff beforehand with our chats on the road. So I'm excited for this year and excited for all the conversations we're going to have, and of course looking forward to seeing everybody. Steve, it's fantastic to see you and have you on for our first episode as our chats on the road coverage on location, and look forward to seeing you there and your session as well.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for having me, and I'll look forward to seeing you in San Francisco.
Absolutely.
Very much.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Stay tuned, subscribe, follow, share with your friends and family and enemies, and we'll see you all soon. Cheers.
Sean.
Marco.
We are here to deliver a message from the RSA Conference team.
It's an important message from our friends. RSA Conference 2025, just around the corner, where insights drive action, solutions emerge, and community connections spark innovation. You'll be there. I'll be there. We invite everybody else to be there April 28th through May 1st. You can secure your spot at rsaconference.com/ITSPMAG25. That's ITSPMAG25. See you all there.
I'll be there. See you there.